According to its creator, the force of evil is capitalism itself. Abraham Polanski feared for a society that valued money above all else, believing such a system would invariably lead to unbridled greed and corruption. In the 1930s, Polanski had joined the Communist Party of America, and while he later shunned the party's Stalinist bent, he remained a Marxist the rest of his life. Since the film was released during the early days of the House Committee on Un-American Activities, Polanski was essentially hanging a target around his neck. He refused to testify before HUAC in 1951, but was excluded from the prison terms meted out to the Hollywood 10 because he'd served with distinction during World War II in the Office of Strategic Services, precursor to the CIA. He'd been named as a communist by actor Sterling Hayden, who, like Polanski, was both a Communist Party member and a wartime operative of the OSS. Polanski wouldn't direct another film for more than 20 years, that being the 1969 Western Tell Them Willie Boy Is Here, starring Robert Redford, Catherine Ross, and Robert Blake, a Western allegory about vigilantism. Now, during his blacklisting in the 1950s, Polanski wrote a fair amount of television, but only 2 screenplays, I Can Get It For You Wholesale from 1951 and 1959's Odds Against Tomorrow, for which he didn't get a screen credit. The next film Polanski would get a writing credit for was the 1968 thriller Madigan, inspired by Akira Kurosawa's classic Stray Dog. I met Abe Polanski in 1997 while researching my book Dark City, The Lost World of Film Noir. He was 86 at the time, still bright, articulate, and caustically funny in that particular way of old-school New Yorkers. He talked about his blacklisting with a surprising lack of bitterness, declaring that the anti-communist hysteria of the time, quote, made victims of everyone, accused and accusers alike. Well, his equanimity evaporated in 1999 when director Elia Kazan was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Oscar by the Motion Picture Academy. Kazan, of course, had preserved his career in Hollywood by cooperating with HUAC, giving up the names of 8 colleagues who'd been Communist Party members. Polanski was enraged and spoke vehemently against the Academy's honoring Kazan. Interestingly, the special Oscar was presented to Kazan by Martin Scorsese, one of the world's most ardent admirers of Force of Evil. He often cites his influence on his own films, particularly Mean Streets and Raging Bull, which both feature volatile, guilt-ridden relationships like the one shared by Joe and Leo Morse. Now, an intriguing tidbit Polanski offered about filming Force of Evil was the difficulty he had with Beatrice Pearson and Thomas Gomez. Both of them were gay and insisted on having their partners on set during filming. And for whatever reasons, the couples became warring factions, making it difficult for Polanski to elicit any of the warmth and affection the characters of Doris and Leo were supposed to have for each other. Pearson and Gomez disliked each other so much they refused to appear in 2 shots together. Polanski ended up shooting most of their dialogue in reverse angles so they wouldn't have to be on the set at the same time. And as interesting and unique as Beatrice Pearson is on screen, she was a bust in the movie business. She made only one more feature, the racially charged Lost Boundaries from 1949. Film noir favorite Marie Windsor had her own challenges on the set, trying not to tower over John Garfield. Windsor was several inches taller than her co-star, so high heels were abandoned.
What do you want? What are you waiting to see?
What kind of a man you are, what you really are.
Try it on your own, man.
I'm trying you.
Marie recalled that she and Garfield, as well as Polanski and cameraman George Barnes, constantly looked for ways to hide the height difference, including having Marie bend her knees as she approached the camera so she'd be at Garfield's eye level when she walked into a 2-shot. Garfield had no ego, Marie recalled. He'd happily make himself the butt of all the short jokes. Whenever he had to play a scene with Windsor, he'd shout, "Somebody get me the apple box." Along with Body and Soul and The Breaking Point, this is one of Garfield's best performances, even if it didn't come naturally. He was used to playing grown-up street kids, but the role of a well-heeled lawyer was daunting. He struggled getting into the part until he hit upon the idea of attaching Joe's Phi Beta Kappa key to his watch fob. And according to Polanski, that simple bit of business was the key to Garfield's understanding and fully inhabiting the character. Hey, not all actors work from the inside out. Sometimes it starts from the outside in. Next week on Noir Alley, we'll be back in the Big Apple. No law-breaking, no guns, no femme fatales, just one of the nastiest depictions of soul corruption ever put on screen. Figures that it's a personal favorite of Ben Mankiewicz. Prepare for an avalanche of savage cynicism when Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis go mano a mano in Sweet Smell of Success. Until then, keep up with fellow Noiristas on the Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed. And I'll leave you with this pithy bit of dialogue that Abe Polanski elected to cut from the opening scene of today's film. There are 3 ways you can make a fortune in this country. You can inherit it, you can work hard for it, or you can steal it. I was born poor and impatient. Think about it. See you next week.